I'm Derek Joyce and I'm here with Paul O'Murda, and this is I'm Not the Expert, but this is a podcast where we'll discuss everything from the most complex ideas that we know nothing about to the simplest ideas that we probably know nothing about either. So put the kettle on, get comfy and join us. So Volcanoes Part 2.
Is it Part 2 or is it just... Oh yeah, because
it's Part 2. We did Part 1, you know, so this is the second one, it's Part 2.
I forgot, I wasn't sure whether we had released Part 1 or we were going to stitch them together.
We had, and it's probably the only one, because I edit them and I listen to us talking and I clear background noises out and all that kind of crack, and it's not something that I want to go through and listen to again. You know, after it's uploaded and I've done it,
I enjoy listening back to the shows.
Well,
I'm a bit of a narcissist.
I'm sure I would too, but after editing them, I've listened to them and listened to them carefully. Yeah, you know, that kind of thing.
And probably multiple times listen to the same kind of section to get it right. I get you.
But Part 1 is something I've listened to twice so far.
There you go. So
it's so interesting, and I told you in Part 1 how much I wish I'd studied all this. So that could have some
a bit of an amateur
contributing factor to it. So if you haven't listened to Part 1, go back and listen to it. It's fantastic, and we'll be waiting right here. Okay. So Pompeii is where I want to start this week.
Okay, that's very famous.
It's arguably the most famous eruption in history. Not the biggest, but it is arguably
because of the aftermath.
Everybody knows the history, and it happened in 79 AD.
Is it that long ago?
Yeah. 79 AD. I said I wasn't going to say AD anymore, so it happened in 79 CE.
CE, sorry, CE. BCE is before.
Yeah. So 79 CE, but it was rediscovered in the 1800s, I think it was.
Yeah, that's kind of what I...
You know, so it's recent memory. If you want to call it that, because it was rediscovered.
I mean, we would have learned about it in school and stuff. Like it was definitely on the curriculum. It probably still is.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those...
I hope it is.
You know, it's one of those kind of pivotal moments, you know. Tutankhamun's tomb, Pompeii.
Yeah, those
you know, stuff.
Those moments in history that kind of everybody goes, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So it was, and I'm sure
tell
it was.
Us all about it.
I'm sure it was fucking pivotal for
I only know
the people that were caught up in it.
You know, volcano erupted, lava covered people, basically going about their day-to-day lives. And they were kind of frozen in lava
which is kind of sounds, and it's accurate, but it just sounds weird hearing they were frozen in something that was extremely hot.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean. They were frozen.
No, I'm not correcting you, because I said the same thing, and when I read the same thing, and I was like, is that correct?
They were incinerated, and what the shape that was their body was.
And there's a reason for that. The guy that discovered bones. And I don't know if I'll talk about him. I can't remember his name, but this guy discovered bones of Pompeians that had been buried under the pyroclastic flow. And the pyroclastic flow, you remember that? It's the hot ash and debris and detritus and lava and rock and all that shit that comes steaming down mountain at like
700 miles an hour. I think you said it was, which really shocked me.
700 kilometers.
Yeah, like you see, bloody volcanoes in movies or whatever, and it's that slow, you know, lava seeping down the side of the hill, creeping towards whatever. And I was like, how the fuck did they not run away from this shit? Like, and then you said to me it's 700 miles an hour.
Well, that's the pyroclastic. That's the pyroclastic flow. That's not the lava.
No, that's
surge.
The initial explosion, basically.
It's been exploding. As far as I know, it's been exploding. It's a build up. And then it's a release. It's top heavy, and it just surges down.
It goes like an avalanche.
And it just swallows everything in its path. But the guy that discovered the bones, he discovered them in not a cavern, because when you think of cavern, you think of something huge. But it's a cavity. That's the word I'm looking for.
A small cave.
And the cavity, he filled with plaster cast, and it turned out to be the shape of the person who used to own those bones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
like
that's where the body was, like,
vaporized, incinerated, whatever way you want to put it. And they're really if you go on Google and look at them, and maybe you'll find a couple of pictures and you can throw up, or throw up a couple of links.
Yeah.
But it's really haunting. You don't see like vivid features. They're just kind of, you know, they're head shaped, amorphous.
Like a clay
limbs
kinda
sticking out. You can tell that they're
clay sculpture that's not finished.
You can tell that they're in the fetal position, or you can tell that they're hunkered, holding their knees to their chest.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of way. But they're haunting looking. Yeah. It's just.
It's interesting you say the haunting. Like, people go and visit these places, like, you know, like that, like Auschwitz as well. So
that's on a different level completely.
I know, but I just don't think I could go somewhere like that. Whether it be Pompeii or Auschwitz or even Ground Zero in New York, and I don't.
have a friend in school, and she went to Auschwitz and doesn't ever need to go again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not something you do a return visit. I wouldn't imagine.
I follow the Auschwitz Memorial Society on Twitter.
Yeah.
And there's people take pictures and selfies outside. Selfies with selfies with the thing up, you know, the finger, the V sign.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Hi, I'm here, kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And people are being not advised not to, but they're being encouraged not to do that and show respect and all that kind of thing. But it's people are fucking idiots. Yeah, but anyway, as most people know, Pompeii was buried under tons of ash in the Vesuvian eruption of 79 AD. Okay?
So I didn't know it was 79 AD, but that was much more recent.
Fucking said AD again.
Oh, 79
C, but that's my fault.
Well, I thought it was much more recent than that. That's
Vesuvius had been erupting for thousands of years before that.
Okay. Now, when you say being erupting, how do you mean? Like,
you'll find out.
Or just little? Okay.
You'll find out.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to have to Google it, aren't we?
No.
You'll get there. I'm preempting you again, Dale. Sorry.
1995 BCE, in the Bronze Age, for example, the Avellino, AVELLINO eruption, as it's known, ejected millions of tons of superheated lava, ash and rocks 22 miles or 35 kilometers into the sky, obliterating every village within 15 miles.
Is this the same volcano as
Vesuvius?
Yeah.
That's what it was, the Avellino eruption.
What's that mean? Like
I don't know. Somewhere it was called Avellino and they named it. Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay.
In 63 BCE, a massive earthquake struck the Campania region, which is now thought to have been a warning of things to come. So, in lots of stuff I read about the eruption in the days leading up to the Pompeii incident, lots of people that were there remember the earthquake in 63 BCE.
Right.
It's a bit tenuous that they would have thought, oh, that's a prelude to something down the road.
It was quite distant. I mean, how many years is that? 63 to 79?
63 to 79. That's 16 years.
Yeah, so
that's not quite distant.
Yeah, but like,
it's far enough. That's what
like,
I'm saying. So people wouldn't have said this. It's very tenuous. That thing that happened nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We
should have known this.
But in hindsight, and hindsight being 2020, I can see how they are looking at that. And now that we know more about tectonics and shit like that, you know, all that kind of
would be taken as a warning.
Yeah. So who'd remember that? 16 years later, in 79 AD, a series of small earthquakes hit the region. So people would have been used to earthquakes.
Like San Francisco.
Yeah. Bit like California, San Francisco kind of area. On the day of the eruption, Pompeii was business as usual. Now, I read that Pompeii was a holiday resort town.
Okay.
So it was very popular, and there were two festivals, and I don't know the names of them, but there were two festivals. One was actually, you know, I don't know the name of them, but I think one of them was to honor Augustus, who was considered to be the first emperor of Rome.
Yeah.
And even has a month named after him. I think it's November.
August.
It's fucking August. So he's even got a month named after him. But it was to honour him, and the other one was to honour, and this is vague, something in the back of my head is telling me this, was to honour the god Vulcan.
Okay.
Which has a certain irony to it. But,
is it irony, or is that where the name volcanology actually comes from?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So.
No, but the irony is that they were worshipping Vulcan, and then they got fucking wasted by
volcano.
Yeah.
They pissed them off.
So
you had to worship harder, ancient Romans. Worship harder.
Yeah. You weren't praying enough. On the day of the eruption, Pompeii was business as usual. As I said, they were celebrating 2 festivals. Vesuvius blasted a plume of ash and gas so high into the sky it could be seen for hundreds and hundreds of miles. And across the bay, there were people looking at this, and there's a guy called Pliny the Younger. Do you know Pliny the Younger? Okay, he was a Greek. He's a poet. He was I think he was a political commentator. He might have been a philosopher. He was a lawyer. He was a learned guy, right? Yeah. Pliny the Younger, whose dad was called Pliny the Elder. And I think it's just senior and junior.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's like me with little Paul, yeah. Big Paul, little Paul.
But Pliny the Younger described it, and I don't have any quotes with me by him, but he was saying as the day went on, he thought the world was ending. He thought he was dying and the world was going with him.
Narcissistic much?
No, he was across the bay. He wasn't even at the foot of Vesuvius. And he was looking at this going, the fucking world is over. You know? So it was bad.
Oh, sorry, the way you said that there, I thought you meant he thought the world was ending because he was dying. Sorry.
No, my point in him saying that it was a cloud coming out of the mountain of such unusual size, and it was like the trunk of a tree. He said it was coming up to a certain height, and then it was branching out. Yeah,
and then just pluming. Yeah.
And the reason I mentioned him is scientists now call that kind of eruption a Plinian eruption.
Ah, okay.
That's kind of why I threw his name in there.
The fourth person to record.
Well, as I said, he was a lawyer, author. He was the magistrate of Rome. So
he wrote this down. Obviously,
having survived this and gone through his life, I'm sure there's other stuff you can find and say, "There's that guy again."
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's why they call it a Plinian eruption.
Yeah.
It wasn't lethal yet. It was just erupting. Okay? And it was looking bad. Many Pompeians and Herculaneans, which is just Herculaneum was just down the coast.
Yeah. Now, I've heard of Herculaneum as well.
And citizens of other towns like Herculaneum and Pompeii, but there were other small towns around. Yeah, and one of them, I can't remember the name. Yeah. That kind of thing.
Of course.
Many of these people that lived in those towns, they left. They saw what was coming out of the mountain. They were like, fuck this shit. We're out of here. Festival or not, I'm gone. And they grabbed all their gear and they grabbed their kids and wives and husbands and
girlfriends.
They made their way out. But some stayed, as you get. I've lived here all my life and I'll die here.
Yeah, kind of bullshit. You don't get those guys, yeah.
For those that did stay, things got much, much, much worse. Buildings collapsed under the weight of several feet of ash. So everything that goes up
must come down.
Okay, so at one point it started to
rain,
but it was raining. It was rock, and it was pumice, and it was heavy material. Like it snowed, ash. Inverted commas, but it was snow falling like ash,
well,
like
hailstones of rock,
like a heavy fall. Yeah.
Jesus.
The day after the initial eruption, a pyroclastic flow, 100 miles an hour, tore down the mountain and vaporized everything in its path. About 2,000 Pompeians died in the eruption, and I didn't find out how many Herculaneans died.
Similar numbers, I'd say.
If not more. But all in, between 20 and 25,000 people lost their lives.
Wow. And only 2,000 in Pompeii.
Well, you know, how big would it have been? You know,
this is it. Like I thought it was
yeah, it would have been, but it's
so Herculaneum was probably even bigger then.
But there would have been people there. Would have been if they went in for the festival. Would have been vendors to sell, but would have been people that can afford to go there and celebrate the festival. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like Glastonbury or whatever, you know. Everyone wants to be at Glastonbury, but can't all get tickets. You know? Kind of thing.
Yeah, but last time I was in Glastonbury, I didn't see any volcanoes.
No.
So, yeah, okay.
No, we know what I mean.
So when the pyroclastic flow hit Pompeii, the people there died instantly.
Jesus.
They were cooked instantly.
Vaporized.
Yeah.
How is it though that, and you're probably going to get to it, but how is it that Pompeii is more famous than Herculaneum?
I don't know.
It's weird. Like everyone knows Pompeii.
Maybe it was like, I mean, maybe it was more famous before that as well. Maybe it was the place to be. Maybe
no, but I mean in context of the eruption, like everybody knows Pompeii, everybody's heard of Pompeii.
Because maybe Pompeii was the place to be. It was the holiday resort to go to. It was the festival town. It was you know, so maybe it just had.
Well, I meant like as an archaeological site, it just seems to be more well known. But yeah, Herculaneum seems to be even richer in archaeological materials now. Am I right saying that?
I wouldn't know. I've never been to either, and I'd love to go to both. Yeah. But I do have a friend who went to Pompeii, and he said, I was saying, oh, jeez, I'd love to go there. And he said, if you ever go to Herculaneum. Yeah. Herculaneum is better, is amazing. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
so, anyway.
It's weird. I don't think I'd like to go anyway.
Every drop of water in the bodies of the people that were in Pompeii when the pyroclastic flow hit. Every drop of water, and in adults, the water content is 50 to 65%, and in kids, it's 75 to 78% water. Instantly burst into steam. All the blood, the sweat, all the moisture, the liquid in the eyes instantly turned to steam. People's skulls ruptured because all of that is moisture. People's skulls ruptured as the steam forced its way out of an enclosed space.
Jesus Christ.
The heat of the pyroclastic flow was over 1,000 degrees Celsius. I didn't bother to translate that into Fahrenheit because that's fucking 1,000 degrees Celsius. Those that didn't die of the heat, the poisonous gases did them in. So you would have had everything coming down in that pyroclastic surge.
Yeah.
All that said, they wouldn't have suffered in their last moments. It was instantaneous. So there'd been more suffering as they were trying to breathe in an inverted commas snowfall of ash in pumice falling, or getting or fleeing. Their roofs collapsing would have taken a lot of lives.
Yeah.
The people who
boulders hitting them in the head.
Yeah, and getting absolutely skulled then and done it, that would have hurt, and you may have died relatively slowly, or you may have asphyxiated because you couldn't breathe. But to get hit by the pyroclastic flow, it was instantaneous. So there was no pain. The bodies of the victims, and this is what I was saying to you, and I wrote it and it was weird. The bodies of the victims were frozen in time. And I put frozen in time in the inverted commas because it still doesn't sit well with me.
Frozen at 1,000 degrees,
Yeah. Okay. Many bodies uncovered almost 2,000 years later were excavated holding valuables they owned.
Right.
Some clutched their children, and they were their valuables, trying to protect them from the oncoming pyroclastic flow or the eruption unfolding around them. There's one which, if you're going to look online for images to put up on the Facebook page, there's one where an adult is cradling a child. It's really haunting, and that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. It's haunting looking. Yeah,
that's
it's
why
horrible.
I really don't think I could go there. I really don't. Just wouldn't handle it very well. As much as, you know, from a historical and archaeological perspective, I'd love to go, but no, just such a horrible tragedy.
It is, but It's history, man.
Oh, I know. I know. I get it. I can read about it. I can watch documentaries on it. I don't need to go there.
I'd love to go there.
Okay.
In 1748, Pompeii and Herculaneum were rediscovered almost exactly as they were before the eruption, minus the moisture. There was no moisture left. All that time, Pompeii lay preserved under 25 feet of ash. Now, weren't you saying, has it erupted?
Yeah, like you were saying,
it's
it was
constantly
erupting for 20,000 years, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I don't, like, to me, the volcano erupting is all that shit getting thrown out the top of the volcano, yeah? So what does erupting mean if not that? Like, it wasn't spewing stuff like that.
When?
For 20,000 years. You said it had been erupting for 20,000 years.
How do you know it hadn't been though?
So, well, you'd hardly build a town right next to it then, would you?
Right now, and we're going to talk about that when we get on to the Campi Flegrei caldera in the Bay of Naples.
Yeah.
There's 5 million people living in the Bay of Naples.
Yeah, but this thing is not spewing an ash cloud 24/7, 365.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Like,
you know what I'm getting at? Like, you know, I do.
I do,
you know,
but
pummeling out.
I do, but that doesn't stop people.
Okay.
On the 17th of March, 1944.
Paddy's Day.
17th of March 1944, during World War II, Vesuvius erupted again.
Okay.
I think it was 7 or 8 months after the Allies had landed in Italy.
In Normandy. Oh, in Italy.
There were 80 Allied planes lost and an airfield.
Wow.
And an airfield. Fucking airfield.
That's nuts. I've never heard that before. And I mean, I would have read a lot about World War II.
Well,
you think that'd be a fairly kind of, significant
no, because
event,
it wasn't. Like. It was a significant event, but it wasn't part of the war.
I know, but it's still.
So if you're reading about World War II, even like, I'm not saying that you're not going to find information on it, but the hashtags and the metadata that's in all these things is not going to contain everything you're looking for. So it's just not going to throw it up. The algorithm won't throw it up.
I've read several books about the war and stuff, and a lot of kind of human stories and things, kind of background stuff. You think it would have got a mention somewhere? Like, I'm definitely going to go look for that now. That's cool. Not cool, but it's interesting.
I looked it up.
It's so interesting.
I looked it up, and there were World War II warplanes flying around and ejecting volcano. It's nuts. It's fucking insane. I was like, what the fuck?
There has to be a book about that somewhere. There has
I'm
to be.
sure there is.
I'd love to read that.
I'm sure there is.
Now that's really after fascinating me now.
So
two things that I'm very interested in: volcanoes and World War II. So put the two together, it's awesome.
Yeah, but it's absolutely insane. Vesuvius is still grumbling. It's heavily monitored.
Yeah,
like it's very, very active.
Yeah, it's probably the most dangerous volcano on the planet in terms of human loss, is it?
You're just setting me up. This is great. No, keep going, man.
Okay, so it's not that.
We haven't even talked about Iceland yet.
I know, yeah. Jesus.
Okay.
I think everyone listening will remember that one.
In 2010. Well, it's like, remember what one?
Well, the one that grounded all the aircraft and...
In 2010?
I think it was probably 2010. Was that long ago? It doesn't seem that long ago. But it spewed that ash cloud all over the whole world.
Eyjafjallajökull.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, there you go. I probably said it, or I've probably said it all wrong. I'm not Icelandic.
I'm going to make you say that again.
Eyjafjallajökull.
Like that.
Yeah, there you go. Practicing it for a week.
You sounded like Bjork.
No, I was like, I'm not going into this podcast without attempting it.
Yeah.
And it's spelled Eyjafjallajo with the 2 dots over it. Yeah. Kull. And I watched videos with loads of Icelandic people pronouncing it, who all obviously do a far better job than I am. But what did you say?
I have no idea.
Okay. I don't like trying to say it. There's consonants and syllables going together that aren't native to me to pronounce in English.
Yeah.
and because I don't speak Icelandic is what makes it. I wish I'd had the foresight years ago when I'd heard Eyjafjallajökull. Eyja. Say it with me. I'm going to teach you all my mistakes.
Right,
so Eyja. Eyjafjallajökull.
Eyjafjallajökull.
See the way you're saying flatla, it's not, it's fiatla. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about syllables not going together that are in my language. You know, that kind of way. So anyway,
Anyway, speaking of Iceland,
that volcano.
You want to regale us with your story of when you met Björk?
No.
No, okay. Another podcast.
No, that's definitely another podcast. But what I found out, or I discovered, and I could be wrong, when people were pronouncing it, Icelandic people were pronouncing the double L sounds like a TL.
Ah, like in Welsh where it's a
I don't know.
Double L in Welsh is
it's a double L, so it's Eyjafjalla.
Fiatla.
But in another volcano, which is
even more unpronounceable.
Flegrei, and I could be wrong, and again my pronunciation's all over the place, but the L's, there's two L's at the end of that,
right,
but they're a K sound. No, they're a K sound.
Like in Welsh.
So I think it's whatever precedes it or whatever proceeds it determines how it sounds.
Yeah, I have me wanting to learn Icelandic.
Yeah, I'd love to learn Icelandic because it's such a good accent.
Yeah, I love Nordic
such a good accent, such a good language. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Do you ever listen to Nordic people speaking, and so many of their syllables and their pronunciations are very similar to like West Coast Ireland. A lot of times, like you hear Erling Haaland being interviewed. Actually, that's a really bad example. He was born and raised in Yorkshire. No, like you see Norwegians or whatever being interviewed after matches, and there's like serious twangs of an Irish accent coming through it.
So
that fascinates me.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm pronouncing them all wrong, but that's the volcano that is really active. So you've got that one, you've got Flegrei, I think it was called, I said it was. Or Katla.
That's always the easy one.
Katla is the much bigger sister of Eyjafjallajökull.
Right.
And that's beneath a glacier.
Right.
And if that goes off,
we're all dead.
That's changing the way we go around and the way we travel for a long time. Wow. Because being beneath a glacier, it's instant steam when that ice hits the lava, the magma, because it won't have ejected yet, the magma, that's instant steam. And when water turns to steam, it expands by 1,600 times.
Wow.
So that's a phenomenal
amount of steam.
Explosion. Yeah. So that's nuts.
So where does that go?
Up.
Up and out.
It does. Goes up. Goes into the atmosphere. That's what I'm saying. It'll change the way we do everything on this planet. And
will it be instantaneous though? Will it turn into steam and then disperse pretty much quickly, or will that be
instantaneous?
Yeah, but will it disperse instantaneously? Will it turn into steam and then just
when it disperse? Turns into steam, the steam is not just the only thing that goes up. Everything around it goes up.
Yeah.
So there's also the Lackey Fissure eruption of 1783/4. There's in tectonics. There's the Mid-Atlantic Ridge that goes up the middle of the Atlantic. The American plate is pulling away from the European plate, and it's just constant moving tectonics. But that bisects Iceland.
Oh, okay.
And
that's right on that,
1783/4, that erupted.
Iceland itself is a volcanic island, isn't it? It's literally it appeared from the out of the sea. Yeah.
Well, kind of did everything.
Oh, yeah.
That erupted by and that changed global climate. That changed Earth's climate.
The most recent one?
The one in 1783/84, the Lackey Fissure eruption. And the Lackey Fissure wasn't the volcano shape you're thinking of in your head that we went through before.
Was it caldera?
It was a fissure.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
It was a long fissure, and
like a crevice.
Yeah, and people there have been accounts taken by people from people who witnessed it, and they said it was a curtain of fire. It was it was the eruption that you're thinking of, with all the lava spewing out, but it was a curtain. It was a closed curtain in a straight line, just spewing.
It's kind of like what you see in Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, here you are, Star Wars shit
again.
No,
but I mean, they did the whole lava thing and that.
Yeah, but exactly like that.
Lava, like Jesus,
By 1785, 20% of Icelanders had died from hunger, malnutrition, or disease.
Wow.
So a year later,
20%
were dead.
Yeah. It just killed all the fauna.
It's estimated to have killed 1 million people worldwide through famine, through malnutrition, through disease, all that kind of thing. So it
makes Pompeii look like a tea party, like.
Well, that's what I was saying, laughing every time you were saying that's got to be the worst one on the planet.
Yeah, no, I mean, the series must be the most
gets worse.
Because it's still, it could do that tomorrow, like again.
Anything in Iceland could.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So I mean, we shit is gonna happen, man. You know, live your life.
Yeah. The paradox thing you were talking about, anything that can happen will eventually happen.
That's not paradox, wasn't that? What was that?
No, you were saying Sod's Law. No, there's the other thing. Given enough time, everything that can possibly happen will happen.
Oh yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's not the Fermi paradox.
No, it's not the Fermi paradox. Right, anyway, that's a different podcast.
Yeah, a whole different podcast. Sorry.
So we'll get there. No, you're okay. Don't apologize. So we've discussed Pompeii. We've breezed over Iceland and how volatile and dangerous that shit is. We haven't even looked at Hawaii. And I don't have much on Hawaii. But that's constant eruption. That's constantly giving out like fucking lava, and it's building new islands, and they're sinking into the sea, and they're coming up out of the sea, and they're coming out of the volcano, and they're fucking making the island bigger, all that kind of thing. It's fucking nuts. Hawaii is an archipelago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all like
it's a chain of islands.
Yeah, and it all comes from a volcanic fissure, and it moves up and it creates an island, and tectonics move the island on, and it creates a new one. And that's the way I think it is. That's the way I think it is. I know that's the way the Galapagos works, isn't it? So yeah, that's the way I think it goes. But it is. It's all a cycle, right?
Mad.
So Hawaii is 8 major islands and 129 small islands. It's nuts. So it must be a creation
I just think
process.
And I know, like, we're talking on a fucking planetary scale, so I mean, it's a long time. Is it conceivable that the Earth's core eventually runs out of magma? It's all ejected to the surface eventually.
No, that's
because
just not
the pressure
feasible.
is constantly,
That's just not feasible, because I mean, if you just think on tectonic terms, there's subduction. So there's plates coming up and there's plates getting pushed down. Those plates getting pushed down are just turned into magma again. So I mean, I'm sure that the mechanism is a lot more complex than that. It's constant renewal. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking of, you know, like this kind of hollow ball full of magma, and it's spitting magma up and making islands out of it. Think, is it going to run out of magma someday?
Well, it can't, because the pressure has to push something up. But if like you say, if it ran out of magma, it wouldn't run out of magma, inverted commas. Wouldn't it just the pressure would just get so low to a point where it couldn't.
In on itself.
No. I think you're fucking you're thinking about fucking
I don't know.
Planet killer shite in Star Wars or something like that.
No, it's nothing to do with Star Wars.
But no, it won't.
It was just getting my head around this idea that islands are being made from
constantly
undersea volcanic, and it's a process, and they move, then the next one comes, and then they move, the next one.
Well, they don't do it like.
So it's just hard to kind of contemplate an infinite source, if you know what I mean.
Planet's been here for 4.3 million years,
They ain't
man.
going anywhere anytime
Or
soon.
6,000 years, depending on what you believe.
No.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to believe. So, Kilauea and Mauna Loa are two of the most active volcanoes in the world, and they're on Hawaii. All islands in Hawaii are less than 1 million years old.
Wow. Hey. Wow. That's mad.
It's the 3rd of October? Oh, say last month, the 10th of September, last month,
Yeah.
Kilauea erupted.
Didn't hear. Oh, I think I did hear
It
that,
stopped
actually.
on September the 16th.
Yeah, I think I did hear that mentioned on
Yeah.
NBC or something. Yeah.
So, yeah, it is. It's constantly active. As I was saying, when you were saying people living so close to a volcano and all that kind of thing.
It's a bit like bad, isn't it?
Bad.
Bit mad.
Bit mad.
Ballsy.
Well, you see, here's the thing. Volcanoes take life, obviously, but they give life.
Yeah, it's a very fertile.
You know, very fertile
stuff,
soil.
yeah,
And it does depend on where you go. But for instance, and I'll talk about them later, the Hawaiian Islands, the lava that comes out there, it's basalt.
Right, okay.
You know, and that's really fertile soil.
That's really good for.
Whereas, and I'm not going to touch on it today, but a different podcast I want to do on earthquakes and the legends behind them, which is really interesting. In the Crete, I think it is, and I'll probably correct myself when I get to it, but Crete has a very different kind of rock and doesn't create very fertile soil.
Right, yeah.
So it depends on where you are on the
planet
planet and what's being created, you know, that kind of thing.
Out,
But anyway, Campi Flegrei, which I was talking to you about when you were saying people living so close to a fucking volcano is mad. Campi Flegrei is located west of Naples in Italy, and it's part of the Phlegrean Fields, a large region of supervolcanic calderas. There's 24 of them.
Okay.
Most of them are located underwater. But Campi Flegrei, which is the one I looked at, more than 7 miles across, and it's located in the Bay of Naples.
Super volcanic, is that the size or just really active?
We talked about super volcanoes in the first one.
Okay, refresh.
You know, Yellowstone National Park, super volcano. It's a big aperture. It's not the volcano with the size that you're thinking of.
It's a caldera.
It's a caldera. It's when it erupted, everything fell into the volcano,
Right, so
like it collapsed. But it's now filled with magma again. It's hardened over, it's crusted over, but there's still a chamber beneath, and they're miles and miles across. And Campi Flegrei 7 miles across. Yeah. So if Campi Flegrei all went up at once.
Yeah.
Super volcanic eruption.
Right.
You know, that's fucking nuts.
Right, now I got you, yeah.
Okay. Campi Flegrei last erupted 12,000 years ago. And it's a pretty active chain. It's on the same chain as Vesuvius.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're talking about that region.
Pretty mad place to live. But not.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get you. It's just, I'm still trying to get my head around this whole. I keep thinking of volcanoes like what you see in the dinosaur movie, you know. And okay. Like, imagine living beside that. Like, why would you do that? But no, I get it.
But they're everywhere, and it's fertile soil, and it's usually a great place to live, and it's not likely that your volcano is going to erupt.
Until it does.
Until it does, but I mean, how long is a piece of string?
Yeah, no, yeah.
And if you're gonna live in fear like that, then why bother fucking doing anything? Why bother getting out of bed?
But it's just seems like a bit of a mad decision. Like, let's build a town.
Not to me.
Let's build a town that will absolutely get wiped out if this thing ever erupts. So we don't really know when it's gonna erupt.
Yeah.
Next week.
What do you think? What's in your head? What town is in your head while you're saying that to me?
I'm thinking Pompeii. Like, what happened to Pompeii?
Do you think they had the knowledge of that? They believe in gods, man.
I know, yeah, they didn't then, and we do now. People are still living beside these things.
But it's heavily monitored.
Yeah, but what?
If it goes off, it goes off, and that's a risk you take. But when you get up out of the bed,
you get advance warning, obviously, but you're going to lose everything.
Okay.
That's what I don't get. I just don't get that. No, anyway.
Okay. Anyway, Campi Flegrei erupted 35,000 years ago. And it also erupted 40,000 years ago. It erupted 12,000 years ago. And it's very active. Okay? But the 40,000 year ago, but it's an active chain. And as I said, it's monitored and it does show activity.
Yeah.
And undersea activity. There's land swelling. Do you remember we were talking about Mount St. Helens at the beginning? And I said that's
bulge out the side of it,
it's going up and going down. You said it's solid rock. It's not. It's up and down. It's usually like it's
breathing.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
The eruption 40,000 years ago of Campi Flegrei is suspected to have caused and contributed to the extinction of the Neanderthals.
I rest my case.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's like.
But
But I get it. You could be living anywhere in a volcano.
I was about to say, it doesn't fucking matter. The Neanderthals all didn't live around a volcano going. They lived where they fucking lived.
Yeah.
And they were wiped out.
Yeah. No,
so
I get it.
If you're gonna go, you're gonna go, buddy.
And if you're gonna be killed by a volcano, probably the closest you are to it, the quicker it's gonna happen, and you're not gonna suffer.
Maybe that's what they were thinking about in Pompeii.
Away,
A massive eruption 200,000 years ago of Campi Flegrei spewed so much ash into the atmosphere that it triggered a volcanic winter.
How do we know this then? Just
200,000
years
ago.
But
geologists would know this because of rock layers and.
Yeah, no, I get that. They'd probably know that it was an eruption, but how do they know it caused a volcanic winter?
Because they would look at the amount of debris in the atmosphere that reflects sunlight back into space and cools the planet down. It's gonna happen, and without light, plants are gonna die. Crops are going to fail. People are going to go hungry. People are going to die of malnutrition and disease. Yes. So it does happen.
Yeah, no, I get that, but it's just like 200 years ago seems...
200,000 years ago.
200,000 years ago seems a long time ago to have something that accurate. Be able to say, it did this and it did that. Like, it just seems a bit... I don't know.
But the records would all be in rock.
Yeah, this is
they didn't just
it's geology,
disappear.
Yeah, it's geology, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's mad. I keep saying it's mad.
It's mad. It is. It's all nuts.
It's a fascinating topic. It's not something we had thought at all about before we decided to do this episode. So, I know you're passionate about volcanoes. This is all completely new to me.
Right. Well, there you go. This is where my passion comes from.
Yeah. Past an interest in volcanoes. It's been peaked now, I can tell you.
So it triggered a suspected volcanic winter. Okay.
Suspected.
It's thought to. No, I mean suspected. That's nuts. If that makes you happy, Jesus.
I'm just pulling your leg.
It's thought to have been Europe's biggest volcanic episode in history.
Okay. So bigger than Iceland, bigger than Vesuvius.
Well, and they probably didn't know those places existed. And being bigger than Vesuvius, it's on the same chain. So again, I say, how long is a piece of string?
Yeah, part of it. It's part of the same eruption, basically. Yeah.
A smaller but more significant eruption happened in 1538 that lasted for 7 days and created Mount Nuovo, which was a cinder cone volcano within the caldera itself.
Oh, okay.
439 feet high. So
that's basically your traditional cinder cone volcano that works.
Yeah.
With basically a moat of lava around it.
I don't know. I didn't see pictures of it, but it erupted and it ejected all this stuff out, and it slowly built up. And when it stopped erupting, this thing was left 430 something feet high.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like, anyway.
Sounds like what?
Fucking Mount Doom, Lord of the Rings, big volcano with a fucking moat of lava around it. That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
Like, I know I keep mentioning movies, but that's my only reference point. I haven't seen a volcano erupt live, so it's my only reference point that I have to it. And I'm sure when they're making these movies, that's exactly what they do, is they go and look at footage of volcanic eruptions and try to recreate.
Yeah, recreating all the kind of
as much.
Yeah. 1538 was the last eruption of Campi Flegrei. What's that? 400, 500 years ago?
Yeah. So... Yeah, so you're not
500 plus.
Yeah, so you're hedging your bets when you're living beside it, I suppose. It's not like...
Well, you're hedging your bets living on the planet. So.
Yeah, that's true. You hit by a bus.
But scientists constantly monitor Campi Flegrei and that supervolcanic chain that it's on because it's so active.
Yeah. See, this is the thing that fascinates me as well. We're doing all this monitoring, right? And we're watching these things, and what the fuck are we going to do about it if it fucking erupts though? There's nothing you can do. Okay, you can get a pre-warning and evacuate a certain area or whatever. Like the kind of catastrophic stuff we're talking about here, like what do you do? Fucking evacuate the whole planet? Or half the planet? Or a third of the planet?
Yeah,
you know. If you get one that big, like, no early warning's going to fucking help there, is it?
Well, okay. If you get one, it's going to be a global impact event.
Yeah.
That's no reason not to.
No, I'm not saying don't monitor it. Jesus, I get it. Like, I'm just wondering. Like, it just seems completely fucking futile. Like, we monitor for things and we're able to kind of offset them. As humans, as fucking scientists, whatever. We're able to kind of mitigate stuff. There's no fucking mitigating a fucking volcano. If this thing decides to blow, like.
And they will. Yeah. They'll go off. They'll come back to life or whatever, or they won't. Yeah. But it's understanding. It's human nature to understand stuff. So
that's kind of what I'm getting
away.
at.
Absolutely,
yeah, like
keep
we're
going.
monitoring it just for our own education, more so than to actually do anything about it.
Okay. An article on a popular science website reported in June this year that Campi Flegrei, Europe's most dangerous volcano, is inching closer to a potential eruption.
Where is this again? Sorry.
Campi Flegrei.
Oh, that one again?
Yeah.
So the one that hasn't erupted for 400 years.
Bay of Naples
thing.
But, that strikes me as red top tabloid newspaper articles. If your favorite team is on a winning streak, every game they play,
they're inching closer to
the one defeat. Match closer to the one they lose.
Yeah.
So it's how you look at the whole thing. I understand what you're
saying. Well, see, there's kind of what I'm getting at, right? So they're monitoring this and they believe it's inching closer to an eruption. Is there anything that can be done, or can they build fucking defences? I mean, like, what is it? What exactly are they doing? Are they just sitting there going, oh, tick, 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 tick? This is gonna blow someday.
I don't know.
Are they making any contingencies? Is there any contingency that can be made against?
That's something for you to look up.
Yeah, because I'm fascinated by that kind of side of it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
There's all this monitoring and there's all this fucking study, and I totally get it. But is there a branch of the sciences trying to work out how the fuck we stop this shit? Or is there? I don't mean stop it, but like mitigate it in some way.
You mean without affecting the engine of the planet?
Of the planet, like, exactly.
Yeah. So and they made a really bad movie about affecting the planet so they could target enemies.
Restart the core, was it that one?
Yeah, it's fucking
stupid
movie. Awful
movie. It's dumb as fuck, but it's a great movie.
It's not a great movie.
I love that. It's one of those fucking so bad it's good.
Nope.
For me it is.
Nope, it's just bad. Bad.
So bad it's good.
More than 1.5 million people live above the volcano complex of the Flegrei fields. All those calderas. No, 1.5 million people live above that volcano complex.
Yeah.
But 500,000 people of those have their homes inside the 7-mile long caldera of Campi Flegrei.
Living inside a volcano?
Yeah.
Cool.
So if you're going to go quick.
You see, there you go. Volcanoes aren't what I thought they were. They really aren't. Like when you were describing a caldera to me, I was literally envisioning a lake of fucking magma.
No, you see that, and that's my next point. All of this movement towards rupture, and they're saying it's closer to an eruption than it was yesterday. That's fucking time for you, man.
Yeah,
that's the way time works.
Yeah, that's it is. Yeah, it's going to erupt someday.
All the talk about movement towards an eruption doesn't mean that an eruption is imminent. The crust could fracture.
Yeah.
And magma could come out. And technically that's an eruption. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that the whole thing is going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with Vesuvius, it might erupt and spew a little lava and a bit of smoke up into the atmosphere and a bit of ash.
Yeah,
but that doesn't
that's what
mean
I was talking about
that's
earlier.
an eruption.
Yeah.
But that's not a catastrophic event. You know, so everything is kind of
that's
in a
what
balance.
I've learned from this podcast is that, like, to me, an eruption is that massive explosion of lava spewing into the atmosphere.
Yeah, and it's not
that's
always
not
that.
an eruption at all.
Think about a dripping tap.
Yeah.
Sometimes the tap goes drip, 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 drip.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a drip, 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 drip. They're both dripping, leaking taps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then you turn on your tap and that's a catastrophic event. Like,
it's how you look at it. It's all eruption, but it's not catastrophic.
Yeah.
You know,
I know, but like we use the word erupt as in a massive outbursting of, the crowd erupted. You know, it means a massive outbursting of things, where in volcanic terms that's not necessarily what it means.
It's definitely not what it means. Yeah.
Well, it can be what it means when it does blow its top, like. That's also called an eruption, but no, I get it now. Yeah.
But also, the fracture in the crust and the magma erupting need to be at the same point. The pressure of the magma pushing from underneath needs to be where
in the same location as the
fracture is.
Yeah.
Or there are loads of things that need to be working for this eruption to happen. This inverted commas eruption to happen.
Yeah, I get it now, where people can live in these craters and stuff, and you might have a day where you're told don't go down X street because we've got a slight lava flow, but we're just going to let it. Not a slight lava flow, that's not what I mean. There's a certain section of wherever might have to be cordoned off, but that's about it. Like, it's not going to cause
No, I'm not saying. I'm just thinking what you're saying. Like, I'm looking at Paul like he's got 10 heads.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is stuff that happens in Hawaii.
Yeah, that's that kind of
They cordon it off because there's
it
a slow
part of your life,
magma thing, and like if you go on YouTube and you look for lava burning car, you just see this time lapse of a slow moving lava thing inching towards this car over on Side Street that just bursts into flame.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Yeah, so it's kind of like, they might have lava warnings on the radio or whatever. Don't go down Patrick Street today. There's lava.
Okay,
sort of thing.
I'm not sure we're there yet.
yeah, I think.
I was talking to my ma, and I was telling her what the podcast was going to be about. We were doing part 2 and Campi Flegrei, and we'd covered Pompeii and all that kind of thing. And she said, you've got to talk about 100 Horse Tree on the slopes of Mount Etna, which is another fucking volcano in Italy. And I'd never heard of it, so I looked it up, and 100 Horse Tree is a sweet chestnut tree.
Okay.
So there's, chestnuts, conkers that we've got, and sweet chestnuts are edible.
Yeah.
And horse chestnuts,
you get them
conkers aren't.
Yeah. You get them a lot of Chinese cooking, I suppose, don't you?
Yeah, they're meant to be very nice.
Yeah,
and you get them at Christmas, and there's a song about it.
Chestnut roasting. You had to get me started, didn't you?
Yeah. 100 Horse Tree is on the slopes of Mount Etna, and it's 7 kilometers from the summit of Mount Etna.
So it's on top of the mountain.
So
it's right up there.
Literally right there. And it's estimated to be between 2,000 and 4,000 years old.
Wow.
And scientists estimate it to be closer to 4,000 than 2,000. That in part answers your question as to why people live near. Like, it's
if a tree can last that long, then people are going to be sound.
It's because, like, the soil is really fertile. If you've got the right kind of soil, the chances that you're going to get destroyed by a volcano, if you look at 100 Horse Tree, are pretty remote. It's lived for, they think, probably close to 4,000 years. Mount Etna, which has erupted 65 times significantly since 100 Horse Tree started growing, close to 4,000 years ago. And the tree has obviously survived all that time and avoided every one of those eruptions. It's not like it said, well, here comes an eruption, and got up and moved. The thing can't fucking go anywhere.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Is Mount Etna though? Is that a conical volcano with the crater at its summit, or is there vents below where the tree is growing, or?
I'm sure there are. I don't know much about Mount Etna. I'm sure it's a stratovolcano.
Yeah. No, because I'm just wondering, like, if maybe that's why it's managed to survive, like the fissure or the opening or the aperture is below where it's growing, so everything's flowing down from there.
No, I don't know. I don't think so. The magma chamber is just located in a spot where it feeds Mount Etna, which erupts in a direction which
that's not where the tree
100 Horse Tree isn't.
Yeah. Probably 180 degrees away from me. Yeah. Okay.
So
cool.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's only 4,000 years old. So go and live near a fucking volcano, because it's likely you're not going to get killed.
This is me you're talking about there.
Guinnesses.
If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. I'll move in, it'll erupt tomorrow.
Guinnesses
Well,
have 100 Horse Tree as the world record for the greatest girth of a tree at 57.91 meters or 190 feet.
Wow, and that's in circumference.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And just to give you something to be able to tie that to, if you're Irish and you have been to Dublin and you've seen the spire, the circumference of the spire on O'Connell Street is 9.4 meters.
At its base.
Hardly that speak.
Yeah, because it tapers, so that's why I'm kind of clarifying.
Obviously.
At its base.
So, 9.4 meters. That makes 100 Horse Tree 6.1 times bigger in every direction than the base of the spire. That's fucking huge.
That is incredibly big, yeah. And that's just its trunk. I can imagine what its plumage is like. That must be a sight. I have to go look at that and Google.
I'd say the leaves are the same fucking size, man.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying the width of its branches.
Right, yeah.
Its canopy must be gigantic.
Did you say plumage?
Yeah, sorry.
I didn't even pick that up.
Its canopy.
Fuck's sake.
You know what I bloody mean. If its trunk is that fat, then its branches are big.
Plumage.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah. No, sorry, plumage is feathers, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm looking at.
No, I'm deliberately saying I don't know.
Branches, leaves, feckin' canopy, I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, the story of 100 Horse Tree goes. During a violent rainstorm, Princess Giovanna of Aragon, travelling with 100 guards and knights, sought shelter beneath the tree and out of the rain.
That's what I just said.
She'd have had her whole...
Or litter and all that stuff that she gets carried on. Yeah, the thing that they carry and you sit
No.
in has a cover.
No, she'd have had, the horse-drawn thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she'd have had that...
Carriage?
Yeah.
I thought we were before that, sorry.
No, Jesus Christ, man.
Sorry,
we invented the wheel a long time ago, do you know?
I'm thinking the Egyptians carrying the pharaoh on this thing.
Okay. She'd have had that, but all her guards and all her knights, all apparently, and according to legend, fit under the plumage of 100 Horse Tree. You nearly fucking did. The canopy.
What's the word I'm looking for? It's similar to
canopy.
Plumage. No, canopy's forest. Like that's
It's not.
Is that not the combined total?
Okay, I'm not getting into
of a forest as opposed to one single tree. I don't know. Anyone out there, tell me what word I'm looking for, please. Put me on my misery.
Anyway, they all fit under 100 Horse Trees' breath. Its leaves and its branches, and none of them got wet.
In its lovely warm green embrace of the tree.
Apparently.
Right.
Now, having sheltered beneath trees during rainstorms, I do know that the closer you stand to the trunk, the wetter you get.
Yeah. It's dripping down.
Because there's less coverage.
Yeah.
It's the broader branches.
Yeah.
Broader limbs.
Further out you go,
more
leaves.
Coverage. More plumage there is, Paul. More plumage there is. Yeah. I'm never letting you forget that, man.
Foliage was the word I was looking for.
Foliage, yeah.
Foliage. That's what I was looking for.
Okay, excellent.
Come on, close enough.
No. So yeah, 100 Horse Tree lived for, they guess, close to 4,000 years on the slopes of Mount Etna. Cool. So living near a volcano.
I'm definitely going to go look that up. I'll throw a picture of 100 Horse Tree up on the Facebook because I'm definitely going to look at it.
It's really impressive looking. Right, to finish off, I have the top 10 most violent eruptions in history.
Okay.
None of which we've mentioned at all.
Okay.
So far.
Right, so all of the kind of stuff we covered, while they're famous eruptions,
in part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, are more famous eruptions for other reasons than the pure, what's the word I'm looking for? Natural power, like just literal.
Yeah,
bang,
yeah.
Well, that's what we're getting into now.
And that natural power is.
Ferocity is the word I was looking for. Natural ferocity of.
That index, and it's kind of like the Richter scale.
Yeah.
Is called the Volcanic Explosivity Index.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
these are the volcanoes I was thinking of.
It's the VEI.
Yeah. So this is what I was thinking of as an eruption when I came in here.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Hunga Tonga Hunga Ha'apai.
I'm glad you said that.
I'm glad it's done. In 2022, exploded with a VEI index, a volcanic explosivity index of 5.7.
Okay.
The submarine volcano began to rumble in December 2021, and seawater coming into contact with erupting lava instantly turned to steam, ejecting 45 million metric tons into the atmosphere.
Wow.
The blast extended for 162 miles. The next one, Huay Napatina.
Huay as opposed to Hawaii.
Huay.
Oh, okay, right.
Huay Napatina. In the 1600s, exploded with a VEI of 6.
Right, now, see the way you're saying that, right, in the 1600s. Assuming they didn't have the technology, well, I know they didn't have the technology back in the 1600s to understand that. The VEI, I'm sure, wasn't even considered back in the 1600s. So I'm assuming modern day geologists have looked at the record, the geological record of the volcano and probably particulates that they found elsewhere around the world or whatever, and they've been able to surmise that. I think we were talking about this off air as well. You were saying particles in the ice in Antarctica, say, that don't belong, aren't native to Antarctica, and they've traced that back to stuff that came out of that volcano.
Well, and that would come from carbon dating.
Yeah,
but stuff in rock layers on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, and they
so it's not just Arctic or Antarctic.
No, I'm just using that as an example of how far from the source it went, and that's how they can then calculate the force that it threw stuff that far.
But also would have looked at historical records.
Yeah.
Because there was an awful lot of... It's like when they kept history. Okay, the year 536 was the worst year to be alive.
Okay. Elaborate, please.
It's something to do with volcanoes. You just know it is.
Well, it wouldn't be in this podcast if it wasn't, but anyway, go on.
It was the worst year to be alive, and when I came across it, it was at the foot of... It was a link at the foot of a page I was reading about volcanoes for this podcast.
Right, okay.
And I clicked it because it was sensational. Worst year to be alive. So I'm
Red Top Daily Mail
sucker,
sort of stuff,
So I clicked it, and it triggered a reaction with me because we'd not covered it, but we covered some of it.
Right. So what you're saying is it was clickbait and you fell for it. Basically.
It was clickbait that I was like, I'm familiar with this.
Yeah.
And we've covered
so I'll have a look at it.
So I read into it.
So I'll have a look at it, yeah.
So 536 CE.
Right.
And I'm not saying AD ever again.
Go man.
536 CE was the worst year to be alive. Glacier cores reveal an Icelandic volcano that plunged Europe into darkness.
Okay, so a lot worse than the one we had 13 years ago, I think we said, was it?
Oh, that was nothing. That was
2010.
What was that? Yeah, but I mean, that wasn't nothing. That was significant.
No, it was
but
mad,
compared to this, it was fucking nothing. A mysterious fog plunged Europe, the Middle East, parts of Asia into darkness day and night for 18 months.
Europe, Middle East, so you're looking at about a third of the world.
Well, yeah, Europe, Middle East.
Third of the Northern Hemisphere, anyway.
Yeah, the only one I didn't mention there was
fucking... The Americas, Africa, yeah.
And
Australia.
perchance it happened there, and it just
Just
isn't
wasn't
recorded in
recorded,
this
or
article.
yeah.
Being covered in a fog, nobody knew where it came from.
Right, yep.
Like, and there would have been, what the fuck is this? This is a really.
And I'm sure there would have been a lot of superstition explanations for it.
Regardless of superstitions or what it was or anything like that, it would have been just, what the fuck is going on and where's the sun gone? And a Byzantine historian, Procopius, I think his name was, he wrote, "For the sun gave forth its light without brightness, like a moon, during the whole year."
Yeah, so like on a foggy morning, you can look straight up at the sun. It doesn't affect your eyes. Yeah,
that's a really cold winter sun looking thing.
Yeah.
All year round,
God.
Day and night.
Jesus.
Obviously,
Night?
No sun. Fog, day and night.
Yeah. Jesus.
Okay.
That's mad.
Temperatures in the summer of 536 fell 1.5 to 2.5 degrees Celsius.
Understood. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it fell a minimum to a maximum of 1.5 to 2.5 degrees, initiating the coldest decade in the past 2,300 years.
Wow.
Snow fell that summer in China. Crops failed, people starved. Irish chronicles record a failure of bread from the years 536 to 539.
When you say a failure of bread, you mean the wheat crop obviously failed, or failure of bread? Is that kind of metaphorically like just a food failure?
It might have been.
It just sounds weird, like failure
been,
bread. Like
but that would have been a substantial food source.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. So it was wheat or whatever.
Wheat didn't grow.
Yeah.
Which means potatoes didn't grow. Which means fucking anything else didn't grow. Carrots or whatever. Whatever it is you.
Yeah, so it was a general food shortage.
It didn't just kind of specific. Mushrooms probably grew.
Yeah.
Because they grow in the fucking dark.
Yeah, but
and they feed them shit, they'll grow.
Yeah, true.
So maybe mushrooms grew, but I mean, who wants to live on mushrooms all the time? Or not at all. We'll see. I don't know. But in 541, a bubonic, and this is what triggered me. This went there that fucking is. That's why. In 541, bubonic plague struck the Roman port of Pelusium in Egypt, and it became known as the plague of Justinian.
Yeah,
do you remember we talked about
I do remember, of course, vividly. Yes.
That's what did it. Yeah.
What I don't get is the article is titled "The Worst Year to Be Alive is 536," and the plague wasn't until 4 years later. So I don't get the connection there. I get the connection in the article and why you.
Because they're not saying that it's because of the plague that was the worst year to be alive. Like the plague in.
So they're just getting over the volcano.
The Justinian Empire was based around the Mediterranean.
Yeah, so
all coasts around the Mediterranean or something like that, if I vaguely remember. So the plague in 541 would have wiped that out, and it was traced, if I remember correctly, as far north as the Netherlands.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Now. But
what I'm saying is they had just recovered from a volcanic eruption and all that shit that happened, the fog and the cold, and they just literally recovered from that, and then the plague comes along.
Yeah.
Nasty time to be alive, all right?
Well, but what I'm saying is 536 was the worst year to be alive, because from Europe to the Middle East to Asia, and most likely the Americas, was covered in a dense fog.
Yeah, leading to famine and shit. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And they were just coming out of that when the fucking plague hits.
Historians have long known that the middle of the 6th century was the darkest era in what used to be called the Dark Ages. But the source of the mysterious clouds has long been a puzzle. And the reason they know them now is because a Swiss glacier team extracted cores from the ice, and they could look at them in smaller and smaller ice cross sections.
A Swiss glacier team extracted cores from the ice where? In Antarctica, I'm assuming, is it? Or the Arctic?
I think it was.
It's not in Italy anyway.
No. Why are you fixated with Italy?
Because the volcano was in Italy, was it not?
I didn't say anything about a volcano.
Okay.
I said 536 was the worst year to be
alive. But the fog, and you
that was
said at the start
all over 2/3, if not the whole world.
Yeah, but it was as a result of a volcanic eruption, was it not?
Yes, but I didn't say it was Italy. I
just assumed because we're around that Bay of Naples area all afternoon. I just assumed it was there. Sorry, but no, I'm assuming it was a long way from Antarctic anyway, or the Arctic or wherever it was.
You'd hope.
Yeah. A lot of volcanic activity up there, is there? Although we did say there was
studying the ice cores in an ultra precise scientific method that they developed.
Yeah.
They could cut like microns, micron thick samples and analyze them. And they discovered an Icelandic volcano.
Icelandic, sorry, it wasn't Italian. I apologise.
Erupted and spewed ash, rock,
Right.
pumice, detritus, fucking pyroclastic, whatever, ash, all into the atmosphere. And that's what blanketed the whole world.
Right.
And you can assume it's the whole world. Because if it's Europe...
Well, all of the civilized, for want of a better word, nations have reported it, so it stands to reason that it was happening elsewhere as well.
Tree ring studies in the 1990s suggested summers around the year 540 were unusually cold as well. And researchers looking at them, because you know the way you can read the rings of a tree will show you its growth over that year.
Yeah.
And the less growth there is, the less nutrients there are, the less sunlight there is.
Yeah, like the closer the rings are together, the less growth you've had in that year, isn't
exactly.
it? Yeah.
Okay. So they wondered why. And they looked for an answer too. And the same answer that the Swiss scientific team got answered their question too. Yeah,
it was colder summers. So the trees were starving along with the people, essentially.
Everything was.
Because, well, I mean, the
flora, fauna.
Tree needs the sun to photosynthesize.
Yeah.
So obviously with the sun being blanketed, they couldn't photosynthesize properly. So yeah, that's interesting.
Okay, so what we have is in 536, Icelandic volcano erupts, dimming the sun for 18 months, records say. Summer temperatures drop by 1.5 to 2.5 degrees Celsius. In 536 to 545, the coldest decade on record in over 2,000 years. Crops fail in Ireland, Scandinavia, Mesopotamia and China. And it snows in China too.
Yeah.
During the summer.
Yeah, which is not a very common occurrence.
No.
They do get snow in their mountains and stuff.
Yeah, but not in the summer.
Not in the summer and not widespread.
540 to 541, a second volcanic eruption. Summer temperatures drop again by 1.4 to 2.7 Celsius in Europe.
Is this the same volcano again?
I assume it is, but I can't categorically...
Same area, same region.
I can categorically say I don't know.
Right. Okay.
541 to 543 was the Justinian bubonic plague.
Yeah.
Spreads through the Mediterranean, killing 35 to 55% of the population, beating the collapse of the Eastern Roman Empire.
Yeah, so if you lived through that period, you're a hardy buck, like you're a sturdy guy.
Fair folks. Well, you were in the right places at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you haven't yet listened to the podcast on the plague, go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It's by far our most popular podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really like when you said you wanted to do the plague, I was looking at you going, you want now? Seriously.
It
was brilliant. It was fascinating. I really enjoyed that one. Yeah.
The only thing I found alarming about it was the plague went away.
Yeah, it wasn't eradicated by science. It just
Well, I mean, it was
poured itself out, didn't it?
You're in the Dark Ages. You're in the Middle Ages.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it just killed itself off. Didn't it?
It killed itself off because it killed everybody, and then couldn't reach someone else to infect.
Yeah,
so it stopped. But plague nowadays, which does happen, and if I remember correctly, happened in China, I think was the most recent case. It was an old man who'd eaten a rabbit that he caught. But it was caught and it's easily treated with antibiotics. So there are all these things that swing into place.
I actually find that really strange that they still call it bubonic plague. Plague is a mass outbreak, like, but it's,
you go. That's your problem with plague. That's your problem with eruption. It's just not being able to get over use of words.
I'm a stickler for the correct usage of words. Yeah.
Okay, is that why you call trees plumage? Okay.
It's gone now.
Okay. I'm never letting you forget that.
Foliage.
I'm never letting you forget
Foliage.
that. So, 541 to 543, the bubonic plague in the Justinian Empire. 640, after declining in the mid 500s, a surge in atmospheric lead signals pointed to an increase in silver mining because of economic recovery. So when they started to recover economically and live their lives and get more food, they just went hell for leather.
Bit like what's happening now after COVID. Like,
yeah, I mean, there you go. Yeah.
Like one clear example I'll use, the League of Ireland struggled for crowds for, well, ever since the kind of English football became a thing on television. League of Ireland crowds have struggled. Post-COVID, crowds are through the roof. People just have a real urge and a hunger for live entertainment. It's become massive again since COVID. So that's kind of...
There you go. Get stuck in for the year.
Yeah.
And then get out and see the world. Yeah.
That's it, like.
Why Napatina in the 1600s with a VEI of 6? In 1600, South America's largest eruption occurred in Peru's Hawaii Napatina. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Globally, summers following the eruption were the coldest in 500 years. So that's fucked a lot of people up globally.
Sorry, when was that? Sorry.
1600s.
Okay, so that's way after the 5316. Okay.
Yeah, that's the Middle Ages.
Yeah, so it's happened again, basically.
Santa Maria in 1902 with a VEI of 6 also. This eruption was one of the largest of the 20th century. Prior to the eruption, the volcano had been dormant for 500 years. It left a blast crater a mile wide and has been active since. It last erupted in 1922.
Cool.
Mount Pinatubo, and some of these names you will recognize.
Yeah, I do recognise that.
1991 with a VEI of 6. Pinatubo in the Philippines is a subduction zone.
Right.
So
okay.
So
it's a lot of tectonic activity around there, obviously.
Well, all volcanoes.
Yeah, no, but I mean, there would be a lot of activity around there. Earthquakes, volcanoes, the whole lot, where you've got that kind of interaction.
It ejected more than 5 cubic kilometers into the air. Only a few hundred people died though. And I know you can say a few hundred, but considering what could have happened, only a few hundred people died, and it was mainly due to the evacuation procedures the government had in place and constant monitoring that you do of Mount Pinatubo. So people are constantly monitoring. When you talk to a volcanologist and they say, what do you do? Go, I'm monitoring a volcano. They're not doing that on the weekends.
No, it's constant, but a lot of it's automated.
When they're not doing it, someone else is. And a lot of it is automated, but there's somebody monitoring the automated monitoring.
Is there? Around the clock?
Has to be somebody to go in and check on them, because I mean, if there is, say, you get this lava bomb gets ejected out of a volcano and just happens to hit this sensor that you've got on a tripod reading and feeding you information and wipes it out. Somebody has to go out there and find out why that's not transmitting anymore. They're constantly monitored. Yeah.
But it's not some guy looking at an electrograph on a screen 24 hours a day, you know?
It might be.
No, I don't think so. I think there's an alarm system and stuff set up.
Okay. Mount Tambora in 1815 has a VEI of 7. Mount Tambora is Indonesia's largest ever recorded eruption by humans. Largest ever recorded by humans. The year that followed was the year without summer.
Right.
So again, so much shite goes into the atmosphere that it just covers the globe.
So it's 536 again.
Yeah, it's 536 again. Worst year to be alive, take 2. The eruption killed more than 11,000 people directly with pyroclastic flows and...
Yeah. It's mad actually listening to this. It really puts the Icelandic one from 2010 into perspective. I mean, the media would have had you believe this was a massive, huge event because it grounded air traffic for a week. That was the big kind of thing.
But it was massive.
Yeah, but it was. But you look like
There's
it didn't
worse.
give us. I know, like it didn't give us a year-long winter or anything close to it. You know what I mean?
No.
But at the time, like
bad.
You know, again, the red top stuff, but no, it had a massive economic impact, and that's why it was so kind of massive news, you know, because it grounded air travel.
Mount Tambora is estimated to have caused the death of 100,000 people due to temperature drop, food shortage,
Yeah.
All that kind of thing. Disease, malnutrition.
Mm.
Yellowstone National Park.
Your favourite?
640,000 years ago. BEI of 8. So that's the highest.
Yeah.
Yellowstone National Park is 30 by 45 miles across. Like it's, and that sits above the caldera. That's a massive, massive caldera.
Like the whole of that national park is inside the caldera, is it?
Is the caldera.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It sits on top of it.
So the caldera is not in the national park. The national park is in the caldera.
Is the caldera.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Happily, magma conditions indicate that the eruption
is
of
massively unlikely.
Yellowstone caldera is very unlikely. And
Not impossible. Not,
nothing's impossible.
It's not dormant.
Nothing's impossible.
Sorry, it is dormant. It's not extinct, is the word I'm looking for.
Well, and extinct is just
it's a very overused
a frame
term
of reference.
Yeah, it's a very overused
If it hasn't erupted in the last 10,000 years since the last ice age, it's dormant.
Yeah.
If it's erupted in the last 10,000 years, it's active.
Yeah.
If it hasn't erupted,
I always thought an extinct just basically meant that the magma chamber had solidified. That it was, it was no longer a magma chamber. It was solid rock.
Yeah, but again, and that's what I thought too. And I still grapple with which is which.
Yeah.
But if you've got a magma chamber that's crystallized or solidified, what's stopping anything changing within the mechanisms of the earth to reheat that chamber?
Yeah.
It's everything is fluid, everything is moving. The whole mechanism works the way it works, and we have no control over it.
Yeah, that is essentially what you're dealing with. And that's why there's so long between eruptions, I'd imagine. Now, this is completely amateur, just from what we're talking about here is making me think. That's why eruptions are so far apart. It's because it does literally solidify and then remelt over over thousands and thousands of years, I suppose. Yeah, maybe not.
Well, it's gonna happen. I'm not saying it's gonna explode, but it's gonna change. Like the planet is gonna change and is constantly changing.
And it's the whole thing of given enough time, everything that can happen will happen.
But it's constantly changing in the sense that what's solid now might not be solid tomorrow. Exactly. What's standing now might not be standing tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if you go back to part 1 with Krakatoa, that blew up. And one of the vents was blocked, and that caused the explosion, and it was blocked by a previous eruption. Yeah. So maybe there wasn't enough force in the previous eruption to evacuate that vent.
Yeah, and it solidified.
And got blocked. And then pressure built up and it blew. And everything fell into the caldera.
Yeah.
And fell 800 feet, sank 800 feet below the waves. And then 45 years later, it was 400 something
back above. Yeah.
It was 400 something feet above the water.
Yeah.
So it had risen.
Child of Krakatoa, isn't it?
At Krakatoa, yeah.
Which is pretty cool, like.
Yeah. So everything
awesome
is inverted commas fluid. Everything is moving.
Yeah.
Nothing to be scared of. Things are gonna happen, things are not gonna happen. It's gonna be great. Volcanoes are so fucking interesting, man.
Yeah. No, come here, listen, I know a hell of a lot more about volcanoes than I did yesterday.
I do too. So before we go, actually, because we never fucking do this, and we always say, oh shit, we forgot to do it. Thanks to everybody in the Cardiff Community Centre who allow us to do this.
Yeah.
And give us the space to record this stuff.
Yeah, and
we really never thank them. We seem very ungrateful, but we absolutely 100% aren't.
Yeah, no, they're fab. And obviously thank you, our listeners, as well. Keep listening.
Okay. Absolutely. And we shall see you next time.